everybody. Welcome to Jewish Veg's 45th anniversary event. Today, we are celebrating Jewish Veg pioneering the Jewish vegan movement 45 years ago. I'm Chantal. I am the West Coast Engagement Manager for Jewish Veg. So first off, I want to let you all know that today is an interactive session. So put your comments, questions, anything that comes to mind when you hear us all speak. We want to hear from you because this movement is about you. It's about all of us. So for those of you who don't know, Jewish Veg, our mission is to inspire and assist other Jews to move towards a plant-based diet for compassion for animals, care for the environment, and concern for our health. And we do this in 4 different ways. We do this by empowering individuals. We do this by engaging institutions. We also do this by building communities and leading public campaigns to help shift the culture that we are in. So I want to bring in Michael Gribov right now. Michael, come on board.
Hello, everybody. Great to see you. Thank you, Chantal. Wonderful to be here.
Yes, thank you for coming. You are our Jewish Veg's Director of Development and Engagement. Thank you for being a part of this. You are a very important part of today.
My pleasure. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to celebrate with all of you guys the 45th anniversary of the Jewish plant-based movement that we launched almost half a century ago. With your support, we've done such tremendous, amazing things that you'll hear about today. And thank you, Alicia. Good to see you. Mazel tov, indeed. And with your support, we are going to be doing even more in the next half century.
Amazing. All righty. So today we are going to speak to a variety of people. That includes our founders, some of our board members, executive staff, and leaders in our local chapters. Now, today, if you hear your story and you relate to anything that anyone speaks about, let us know. We want to feature that. I think it's important that in this Jewish vegan movement, we see some of ourselves in the leadership. So let us know. All right, so I want to bring on...
Before we do that, one quick thing about vegan, our Vegan Giving Tuesday. So this is a very special day for Jewish Veg. First of all, because this is the 45th anniversary of Jewish Veg, but secondly, because this is a global Giving Tuesday, the biggest day of giving around the world. And that is why on Giving Tuesday, we wanted to celebrate this beautiful day. Mazel tov, Ron, thank you. And we wanted to, we really want to highlight this movement and want to give you guys the opportunity to support this movement as well. So to support Jewish Veg on Giving Tuesday, what you have to do is you've got to go to the link, vegangT.org, vegangivingtuesday.org, vegangT.org, and on that link, you'll be able to make your contribution, to provide your support. And I just want to highlight some amazing support that we've already received for our Giving Tuesday campaign. We've set a goal for $10,000 for this day only. For the Giving Tuesday campaign, all of your donations are going to be doubled by a foundation that supports our work. And I just want to go down in no particular order, aside from how the donations are actually appearing on the Giving Tuesday page. I want to thank you so much, Christopher, for your support. Thank you so much, Ellen Lowitz, for your contribution. Thank you so much, Heidi, for everything that you're doing. Thank you, Mara, for supporting the Giving Tuesday campaign. Thank you, Allison Fox, for your awesome support. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you, David, for really getting us over the top on Giving Tuesday. Thank you, Jeffrey Schrager, for your support as well. Thank you, Brett Truman. Really appreciate your contribution. Thank you, Mark Farber. Thank you, Richard Selby, representing in Long Island, New York. And thank you, Gary Safran, for your contribution. Again, if you have not had a chance to contribute yet, please go to vegangt.org. Let's make this an awesome Vegan Giving Tuesday. Let's support the Jewish plant-based movement. Let's make this just a fantastic campaign that we can look back on in the next anniversary, which will probably be our 50th anniversary 5 years from now, and do one even better. So really appreciate all of your support and everything that you've done for us. All of the contributions that we're going to receive on Giving Tuesday and for our anniversary campaign are going to be going to our Pandemic-Free World campaign, which helps shift the public conversation around the pandemic and helps people realize the connections between this zoonotic pandemic, which was caused by the confinement, slaughter, and consumption of animals, and our diets, and because these are things completely interlinked. And so I just want to kind of give a shout out to some of our supporters for the pandemic campaign. All of these organizations are doing amazing works. Please go to their site, support them as well. And they are our partners for the Pandemic-Free World campaign. If you would like to partner and support the campaign, please reach out to us, reach out to me, and we will work with you to spread this message about the connection between what's going on right now in the world, this horrible pandemic, and the opportunity that we have to prevent future pandemics through our food choices 3 times a day, every single day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Michael. Yes, I just want to second all of that. The people that have supported this movement have done a whole lot to move us towards a more compassionate world and a more compassionate Judaism. So today we're going to talk about all of that. I want to introduce Jonathan Wolfe and Richard Schwartz. Jonathan Wolfe, hello. How are you?
Hello.
Richard, hi.
Hi, John. Good to see you. It's been a long time since we've seen each other in person like this and electronically.
Although in the era that we're about to talk about, we would see each other weekly or monthly for many years, but not mostly since you moved to Israel, basically.
Yeah, okay. Looking forward to many conversations.
Jonathan, you founded Jewish Veg 45 years ago. And Richard, you are the president emeritus of Jewish Veg. So welcome. It is such an honor to have you. You are such integral parts of what we do. I actually wanted to start with a question we got from one of the people that decided, hey, I want to come to this event and I have a burning question to ask you guys. And that question you could see there is from Sylvia from Allentown, Pennsylvania. How did Jewish Veg start?
I could do the 20-minute version, but I'll try to do the 30-second version. The World Vegetarian Congress took place in Maine, the University of Maine, the first time it was ever in North America in 1975. I had become a vegetarian as a volunteer on Kibbutz Gezer in Israel, which was a motley collection of North American and South American and Western European kind of hippie commune that took over a abandoned Israeli kibbutz. And we did the first large-scale organic farming in Israel, and we had a completely vegetarian kitchen. So while I was there, I became instantly a vegetarian, but I wasn't very activist about it until I saw the news of this World Congress. And my cousin, Rabbi Levi Kelman, who is now the head of Rabbis for Human Rights in Israel, and was the rabbi for many years of the synagogue many of you may have been to, Kol Shama in Jerusalem, he and I and Rabbi Everett Gendler and his wife Mary, who were organic farmers for many years in the New England, went to the Congress. And actually, I brought along copies of the vegetarian pamphlet written by Rav Kook, the first chief rabbi of Israel, which we studied together while we were there. But we were surprised at the meals and at the gatherings to discover other Jews who were there, especially rather connected, observant, serious Jews who were also very serious vegetarians. I should mention a few by name quickly. Judah Grossberg, I just looked him up on Google recently. He was then, I mean, he was born in 1906 and he lived 100 years. So when he was one of the leaders of this group, he was already in his 50s, 60s, 60s, 70s. Our friend Yaffa, all these people are unfortunately now deceased, but we bless their memory. Our friend Yaffa Golden, who was a vegetarian from birth, and her mother, Judith Golden, and Florence Mitrani, who became very active in leading a Sephardic activist. And I believe, Richard, correct me, that in her will, she left the money that created the center for vegetarianism in Jerusalem.
Correct.
Anyway, so we all got together and met each other and said, hey, we're all serious Jews. We're all serious vegetarians. What should we do about it? We knew there was a Jewish Vegetarian Society in London, but it had really no branch or expression or representation in North America. So mostly in the living room of my apartment on Riverside Drive, I went to Columbia and then lived in New York in the 70s, 80s, 90s, then moved back to where I now live in Chicago, where I grew up when we adopted our son from Ethiopia 20 years ago. But in that apartment, we had different meetings. And then I just sent a whole packet of material last week to Michael of historical activities of the group. Our first event was a Purim party in March of, there are some of his things. That's the Jewish Vegetarian Sprout, the newsletter that I started in 76 and continued for about 10 years. And that's the convention that after I was president for several years, Rabbi Noach Valley, now of blessed memory, took over, a conservative rabbi who was head of the Actors Temple. And then Deborah Wasserman and Charles Stoller in Baltimore took over as president during the 90s, and they were the ones who organized several conferences. We had some actually in the 80s, and several conferences and conventions. You see the flyer for one of them here. And they published many newsletters from Baltimore in the 90s. And then Richard, after them, took over for many years and expanded us onto the internet, as he'll tell you, and greatly extended the reach of to Jewish vegetarians elsewhere. So we had the Sprout. We had many holiday events, Pesach Seders, Purim parties, Hanukkah parties, meals in the Sukkah. Around the same time, with my cousin Rabbi Levi and some others, began the revival of the Tu B'Shvat Seder in North America. And we had Tu B'Shvat gatherings for many years, some of which Richard spoke and taught at. We also had Shabbatons from, I taught a class, which Richard attended, I think about the third year, starting in 1977. I taught a class for adults at Lincoln's Synagogue in Manhattan about Judaism and vegetarianism, which actually set me off on my career as a teacher of Jewish adults, which I've continued ever since. But the first classes I taught there and at the Cage Jewish Educators Conference were about vegetarianism and kashrut. And then I branched out to open Orthodox feminism and Jewish environmentalism and Jewish interdenominational pluralism and many other subjects. But the first subject that I taught and studied was vegetarian issues. And from that class, we started to have a twice-a-year Shabbaton in my apartment that people brought all kinds of potluck vegetarian dishes. And we studied sources and blessings and different authorities about and writings, the stories of Isaac Bashevis Singer. We presented an award to Singer in his apartment. I went there and gave him that award as a very, very dedicated vegetarian, as well as, a very important writer of Jewish stories. So that's some of what happened in the 70s and 80s. And I wrote two flyers in the late 1970s called What's a Jewish Vegetarian and Why Jewish Vegetarianism, which expounded four basic principles of why Jews should be vegetarians. Richard added a fifth and maybe a sixth a little later on. He wrote that book, Judaism and Vegetarianism, based in large part from the sources that I taught in the class and others that he researched and discovered. So the four pillars that I articulated in those flyers more than 40 years ago were personal health, concern for animals, concern for the environment, and one which I keep nudging Jeffrey and Jewish Veg to include and focus on more, which is human hunger and the waste of resources. That raising animals, besides killing animals, killing the people that eat it, destroying the land, water, and air, also wastes resources that we need for hungry human beings. There are places in the third world, like Brazil, where they cut down rainforests we desperately need to have grazing land to produce animals. I wrote a footnote for one of Richard's later books, Judaism and Global Survival, a study from the United Nations about how much of global greenhouse damage and climate harm is done just because of the raising of animals. So that's the fourth important principle that I added in of people were in the 70s were very fond of Diet for a Small Planet, a book which talked about how vegetarian and vegan eating would save the planet and meat and mistreatment of animals would destroy it. So now we are on Giving Tuesday, and vegetarianism and veganism is about giving. It's about giving health to ourselves. It's about giving life to the animals. It's about giving strength and success and peace to God's endangered world and our environment. And it's about giving to hungry people and not wasting resources that they need. Richard also added in later in his writings the principle of peace, that shalom comes from living harmoniously with other people and with animals, which I think is also a very important point. And of course, the fourth principle also involves bal tashchit, that the very central halakhic principle that you don't waste things that God created for positive use. Animal raising and animal eating destroys tremendous amounts of resources that we need for life. And today is also World AIDS Day, December 1st every year. And Dr. Fauci, who's crucial now with the pandemic, was crucial in fighting AIDS back to the 1980s. And I think Jewish Veg is doing a fabulous I think the most important project that's ever been done in the 45 years of connecting pandemic to the fact that the way we misuse and mistreat and torture and misapply animals, and like in the wet markets in China, is where all these pandemics come from, including AIDS, including COVID. Anyway, I now want to turn over to my colleague and friend and successor, Richard.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Really appreciate your very eloquent presentation on this. For Richard, we have also a wonderful question that was submitted for the event from Laurie from New York, New York. How long have Jews been vegans or vegetarians, and what is the biblical connection? Were they in the Bible or biblical times?
What a softball. Richard has been writing about this for decades. He's ready to handle this question.
Perfect segue into that. Please go ahead.
Okay. Actually, it's even before there were Jews in the Bible. It's the very first chapter in Genesis, chapter 1, verse 29, God's first dietary regimen, strictly vegan. It's giving us the herbs of the field and the fruits from the trees. So it's in Gan Eden, the ideal diet. And also, by the way, the other ideal period in the Jewish tradition, the Messianic Period, according to Rav Kook, the first chief rabbi of pre-state Israel, that will also be a vegan period. And that's based on the very powerful prophecy of Isaiah, that in an ideal time that Jews yearn for, the wolf will dwell with the lamb, the lion will stalk the ox, no one shall hurt nor destroy in all of God's holy mountain. So actually, it's in the Bible from that point on. And certainly, I try to point out in my books, the vegan diet is the diet most consistent with very basic Jewish teachings. Take care of, Jonathan, because very eloquently, as Michael pointed out, I mentioned this, take care of our health, treat animals with compassion, to protect the environment, to conserve natural resources, as Jonathan mentioned, bal tashchit. Very powerful teaching. If only the world had it, that not to waste or destroy anything of value, and to Jonathan pointed out, very important teaching, help hungry people, and to seek and pursue peace. So this is very fundamental, and I commend Jewish vegetarians formerly Jewish Veg in North America, now Jewish Veg, and its 45th anniversary. It should have success for many more years, and leading the way in so many ways. I'm glad to see at a recent board meeting that one of the important things, one of the projects is to try to renew an ancient holiday, that is the ancient Jewish New Year for animals, which originally was for tithing, for sacrifices. We want to renew it, but of course transform it into a day devoted to increasing awareness of Jewish powerful teachings on compassion for animals and how far the realities are from these teachings. So we have these powerful teachings, and we have to very respectfully challenge rabbis. How can we ignore that Jewish teachings are so violated in terms of taking care of our health again, and environment and animals, et cetera, et cetera. So I salute John. He started something he should be very proud of 45 years ago. I served as like a little bit of a bridge, and now we have Jeff Cohan and wonderful Chantel and Michael and other wonderful parts of staff and a wonderful board of directors I'm proud to serve on as well. So best wishes for continued success on to the 50th and beyond.
Amen.
Can I just add, is my mic on? I just want to add that those of us Altacockers who were doing this in the 70s and 80s tremendously respect and salute those of you who are doing it in the 21st century in your own way, in your own language, in your own technology. When I led all the events that we spoke about, I used to have to go use an electric typewriter, write out the title and drawings and calligraphy, take it to a copy center, put it in an envelope or staple it, put a stamp on, and mail it to people's snail mail addresses. We had no email, we had no smartphones, we had no internet, we had no Snapchat, all of the Google, Facebook, which you guys brilliantly employ. We were doing it really retail, and we greatly salute how you've continued. And also, the Tu B'Shvat Seder was something that began as a legal holiday in the Mishnah, and basically the Kabbalists of Tzfat, the students of the Ari Yitzchak Luria, developed it into a Seder. But the first day of the month of Elul is also in the same Mishnah, but nobody until Richard and others fairly recently has thought of making that a celebration of animals the way we celebrate fruits and trees on Tu B'Shvat. And it's very important that Jewish Veg is taking that on as a major campaign. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yes, thank you both so much. Richard, can you tell us just a little bit about this amazing book you just came out with and where we can get it?
Okay, well, thanks for mentioning it. This new book is called Vegan Revolution. The world needs a vegan revolution. If we're going to avert, thank you for showing the picture. If we want to avert a climate catastrophe, avert the pandemics like we have now, as Michael pointed out and Jonathan so well, if we want to end the incredible epidemic of diseases, life-threatening diseases, cancer, heart disease afflicting the Jewish people, if we want to reduce hunger, the scandal of hunger, there's enough food in the world, and yet 70% of the grain produced in the U.S. is fed to animals destined for slaughter. If we want the incredible wasteful use of water and land and energy, and if we want a more peaceful world. By the way, some people wonder what is the connection, and our sages saw that the Hebrew words lechem and milchama, bread and war, come from the same root, deduced when there's a shortage of resources, people are more likely to go to war. So I have come up with the idea that the slogan of the vegetarian and vegan movements and the slogan of the peace movement, they should be one and the same slogan, peace movement, vegan movement. All we're saying is give peas a chance. If you pardon the poor pun.
Richard has been pushing the pun of give peas a chance for decades. It's funny, but
we need peas on Earth. Okay.
Let there be peas.
Uh-oh.
Sorry,
I'm not hearing you.
No, I think you're muted. You were trying to say something.
Hello, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Great. Just want to say thank you guys so much for joining us today. You are obviously such a big part of this movement. Thank you for pioneering this 45 years ago.
Thank you for carrying the torch.
Yeah.
Thanks to Rabbi Valley, Oliver Shalom. Thanks to Charles and Deborah, who now run the Vegetarian Resource Group. They do wonderful books and newsletters and publications and magazines, and they're still very active. Thanks to Richard and some of the others who took over, and thanks to you guys, to Chantal, to Michael, to Jeffrey. You are the new generation. When I started this group, I was in my early 20s, so but no longer 45 years later. But thank God you guys are taking it into technological and ideological and organizational and outreach directions that we could never have dreamed of 45 years ago.
Thank you, Jonathan. You guys are wonderful. We look forward to speaking to you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to acknowledge a contribution that has come in. Thank you so much, Sylvia Mandler, for contributing, for donating your resources and investing in Jewish Veg and supporting our Giving Tuesday campaign. Thank you very much. Again, if you would like to support the Giving Tuesday campaign, the link is VeganGT, that's VeganGivingTuesday.org. That will enable you to support the campaign. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvia. All right, so now I want to say hello to two of our board members. That would be Allison and Jeff. So would you guys like to come on board into our stream? Oh, hello, Allison.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you. Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us today. Again, for those of you guys watching, these two are such an important part of the work that we do. The guidance, the experience that they have, really, truly big part. So thank you both. And thank you for supporting us this whole time.
Of course. We're happy to do it.
Good. So we have a question for you guys also that someone had submitted ahead of time, a burning question again. So this is from Alicia from the Pacific Palisades in California. Hi, Alicia. Thank you so much for participating. Okay, guys. So how can we do more to make this world fully vegan? What do you guys think? Allison, you want to go first?
I was going to let Jeff go first, but
Go for it, Allison.
make the world more fully vegan. It sounds like a really big lift to make the world fully vegan. But I think what we need to do is make the connections that we're doing, for example, on the pandemic-free world. As people understand more and more how animal products, whether it's meat or dairy or eggs, how they're just destroying our world, as well as if they understand that, if they understand how it's causing disease, how it's unhealthy, and how it is directly and indirectly linked to so many of the ills that we experience in the world. Once people begin to truly understand that, as well as the fact that they understand that going vegan is not a sacrifice, that there's so many options out there to go vegan, to be healthy, to enjoy your foods, especially all the Jewish holidays. I think once they understand that, I think we'll be able to make that transition to a more vegan world.
That is brilliant. I totally agree. And thankfully, that's one of the things that Jewish Veg does is we go out and we educate people. And we obviously can be a lot more direct because we're going specifically in the Jewish community and we are Jewish and we know those people. So, Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Allison said. I don't know what more I could add to that. Certainly, knowledge is power. And the more we can disseminate this information, of course, like through organizations like Jewish Veg, the more that people will realize that it's in the best interest of us as a species going forward for the long term. But obviously, it's not going to happen overnight. But in the short 6 years that I've been vegan, I've seen a tremendous growth in the movement, and it's very heartening to experience that in real time. And I think, I hope, and I think we'll get there. It'll take a while, but efforts like what we're doing in Jewish Veg, I think, are very instrumental.
Thank you for that. And speaking about the Jewish vegan movement and being educated and then realizing, wait a minute, I think I need to change my lifestyle a bit. I want to know from both of you, what brought you to the Jewish vegan movement and how do you personally live out Jewish veganism right now? Allison, do you want to go first? Sure.
So even though both of my parents were raised Orthodox, I was raised in a much more secular household. My father had lived through the war and came to the United States as a displaced person, having, spent years and months in the woods, seeking shelter, living through the worst the world had to offer. But he came to the United States and met my mom, and years later I was born. And I was raised with a very strong belief in Judaism. And so while we celebrated the holidays and although we celebrated the holidays and we identified as Jewish, we were much more secular. But I always felt an affinity towards Judaism that was very strong. But I also at the same time spent my life worrying about animals and what was right and what wasn't. And from a very young age, I was vegetarian, and I was vegetarian on and off for many years. But from a young age, and while my parents supported me, they didn't quite understand. And so I felt that with the Jewish meals that involved meat, but at the same time saying heal the world, there was this contradiction. So what really I found in Jewish Veg was an answer to that contradiction. It was a real understanding about how being vegan and being Jewish not only are intertwined, but they really make sense and they complement each other. And it's a distinct synergy if you're willing to look at it and see it and delve into it and understand. Being vegan and being Jewish that's the only combination that makes sense. And so I joined Jewish Veg, first as a member before joining the board. And I found a community and I found understanding, and I found that I could be Jewish and vegan, and that I didn't have to explain, and people understood. And they're working with me to make this Judaism more compassionate and make the world more compassionate.
Man, that's such a beautiful story. It's so rich with a lot of history and a lot of self-realization. I think a lot of people have to get to that point. You know, I think one of the things that we're really good at doing as humans is compartmentalizing. And that is really great in certain circumstances, and in other circumstances, maybe that's not so helpful. And there's something better we can do, like I said, for our health, for the animals, and for the planet. So Jeff, what about you? What brought you to the Jewish vegan movement, and how do you live it out now?
So I've been vegan for about 6 years. It was a very gradual process for me. And I guess the journey probably started at least 20 years ago when I first heard the term vegan, or the concept of veganism. And originally I quickly dismissed it because I thought it was just incompatible with life, actually. And it was just based on no knowledge. And, you know, growing up in a world where we're mostly omnivorous, I just couldn't see how that was something that someone could survive on. But I mean, to play with a metaphor, it planted a seed, and it stayed in my, subconscious for many, many years. And then probably, I guess about 7 or 8 years ago, I was just surfing the web and I was watching some YouTube videos, and I saw this one video clip. I don't even remember which one it was or the name of it, but it was a very short segment on what actually happens to animals in slaughterhouses. And that was the straw. I just couldn't go on eating animals anymore after that. And it was sort of, once I got that revelation, I decided to go vegetarian. Like I said, this was a gradual process for me. And I guess I convinced myself that if I sourced my eggs and my dairy products from local farmers markets and organic and all that, that it would be, humane. And so for the first year and a half or so, I was vegetarian. But during that time, I learned actually there are still atrocities in the egg and dairy industry. And it just got harder and harder to be part of that. And at the same time, I was learning more about the personal health benefits of being fully plant-based in what I ate. So about 6 years ago, I decided to forego eggs and dairy as well. And I can honestly say it's been one of the best decisions I ever made for my personal health, both physically and mentally. mean, now my behaviors are in line with my values. And the way I grew up also very secular, and the way it ties in with my Judaism is that I guess I think in 2016 or 2017, I attended a Veggie Pride parade here in New York City. And at the end of the parade at Union Square, there was a bunch of, it was a table event, and Jewish Veg had a table with some literature they're passing out. And I thought, well, that's weird. What does Judaism have to do with veganism? I was just very ignorant about a lot of this. And so I picked up one of their pieces of literature, and they were promoting an event that I went to, and it was a presentation by Alex Hershaft. And it was amazing. I mean, he is a survivor, a childhood survivor of the Holocaust in Nazi Germany. And he described, and then years later as an adult, I think I have this right, he came to the United States and he became an inspector of slaughterhouses. And so in this presentation that I attended, he described his experiences in concentration camps and the parallels that he saw in current day slaughterhouses. And it blew me away. I never made that connection. And this was an event that was developed and sponsored by Jewish Veg. I thought, wow, this organization could really teach me something. So I became a member, and I've attended many events since then, and they're all of high quality, useful content that you would learn a lot. And earlier this year, I was asked to be on the board, and it was such an honor and a privilege to get that invitation. That I'm just very happy and proud to be part of this community. It's really wonderful.
Well, we're super honored to have your voice in the leadership of this movement. So thank you, Jeff. And just thinking about what you'd said, this is also what brought me into Jewish Veg, which is veganism is actually already in line with Jewish values.
Right.
We're not trying to do anything different than what's already there. We're just trying to educate. And I think when Jews specifically realize that, it automatically does something in the brain that really does move people closer or just make the switch right away. Right. Yeah. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Again, really big parts of this movement. And again, yeah, thank you for spending your time today to speak with us.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Bye. All righty. So I just want to remind you guys too, this is an interactive session. Put in any of your comments or questions you might have. And for all of those who've already donated to our 45th anniversary Giving Tuesday fundraising campaign, thank you so much. And I'm glad, Ellen, so glad to find Jewish community vegan group. Yes, we have some Facebook groups too, especially since everything's online now. Go find us. We've got LA, we've got New York, we've got DC, we've got the Bay Area now, and even Houston. So go find the groups on Facebook, and let's grow this community. Okay, so next I want to bring in our executive staff. So we've got Jeffrey Spitz-Cohen, who's the executive director of Jewish Veg, and then Michael Gripoff again. So come on over, everybody. Hello.
Hey, Jen.
How you guys doing today?
It's been a long time.
Thank you both for joining us. I will just say that I work with these people every day, and these are some of the best people to be helping lead this movement. And I'm personally very honored to be working with the two of you. So thank you.
The honor is ours, Chantal. You just liven everything up. So
oh, thank you. Thank you.
I just want to highlight, Elisa, thank you so much for connecting from Vegan Spirituality Southwest Pennsylvania. Lisa, great to see you from over from our friends and partners and collaborators with us. Shemaim, a fantastic organization that is a partner of ours. John Netzel, great to see you. Mazel Tov. Thank you so much. Great, fantastic, amazing sanctuary over in the greater DC area. Just did an event together with you and really honored by your support and for all the work that you're doing with your sanctuary. And Ellie, good to see you, Ellie. Really amazing work that you're doing in New York. Just wanted to highlight some of our members here at the event.
Yes, thank you all so much. Again, you are all part of this movement. You are going to help propel this and help us move forward into 2021. So I know we have some questions for you guys too. And the first one is from Elizabeth from Cleveland, Ohio. How can we change people's minds without coming off preachy? Such a good question.
All
Jeff,
right. Thank you, Elizabeth. Very important question, because if we come off preachy, we're not going to change people's minds. But here's how we do it. Look, people care about animals. Presumably, they care about their health. They might even care about the environment. And if they're in a synagogue when we're talking, they probably care about Judaism. So what we're doing is showing going vegan aligns with what they already think and what they already believe. So it's the opposite of coming off preachy. We're trying to help them and their cognitive dissonance.
So true. And that actually also was one of the things that brought me closer to a vegan Jewish world, which was that realization. You know, it's not in conflict with our values at all. Thank you for that. So, Michael, I think we've got another question. So it's Noah from Oakland, California. Do you ever host events to bring Jews back home who haven't been able to practice Judaism even since preschool? Respectfully.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jeff can probably address this as well, but I think a lot of our work that we do, you know, it has kind of an additional corollary benefit for the Jewish community, because what's happening is individuals that are not that are vegan or that are veg curious or that are vegetarian, they come to these events and these synagogues, they come to these Shabbats, they come to the Jewish community, and they say, well, here I am, and they see all this meat and this fish and this eggs and all the stuff that's connected to Jewish life that Judaism has kind of been, connected with over the years, but it doesn't represent necessarily Judaism. And what happens is they feel isolated, they feel ostracized, they feel unwelcome. And what we're doing by building these communities that Chantal mentioned in the Bay Area, in LA, in New York, in DC, and other parts of the United States and other parts of the world, and you'll hear from some of our leaders in our Jewish Veg chapters throughout America, is we're creating a space for individuals that are vegan or vegetarian or veg curious to come and to say, this is normal. This is part of Judaism. This is exactly what we're supposed to be doing as a people and as a community. And as a result, because we're doing that, those individuals then come into Jewish life and experience Judaism. For me and for many others, for you as well, probably Chantal, they begin to experience Judaism in a new way and rediscover the Judaism by seeing how it's integral to a compassionate plant-based diet.
Gosh, I love that. I love that. And again, too, it showed me it brought me closer to Judaism. It showed me a Judaism that was compassionate. So Jeff, do you have anything to say about that? Do you have
No, there's no, Michael, I think said it so well. In 7 years ago, when I became executive director, I was interviewed by a Jewish newspaper, and I said, "This is not the main purpose of Jewish Veg, but we will have this effect. Vegans and vegetarians who feel disaffected from our religion because they don't see their dietary habits respected and setting up their Jewish institutions will come back into the fold because of the work we're doing."
That's amazing. That is so amazing. It's like we're having all of these effects in other areas of people's lives just by proxy. So, okay, we got another question, actually. Sherry from Pasadena, California. Hello, Sherry. Thank you for your question. Thoughts about vegan allies? Who wants to take that?
Jeff?
Well, Michael, why don't you talk about our total pandemic-free world campaign and the partners we have in that campaign?
Yeah, I think that's a great kind of segue into that, to mention that a lot of our work, it's targeted to the Jewish community, but it's also, it reaches way beyond the Jewish community. And what we're seeing is that these campaigns, like our Pandemic-Free World campaign, to help people make the connection between plant-based diets and the pandemic, or just food in general, and this global pandemic that's just ripping through the whole world. It's really brought on a lot of individuals and a lot of organizations into our fold, and enabled us to partner with so many other organizations. This is just kind of a cross section of some of those organizations that are partners with us. Veg Fund and Wolfe World, VDOG. Now, really, thank you so much for your support and for enabling us to reach beyond our traditional circles or our specific community, but really grow and make sure that this message resonates throughout the nation and throughout the world.
You couldn't have said it any better, Michael. Vegan allies are important, very important in this movement. So I think we have one more question for you guys. Sean from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. What are some interfaith vegan resources that you recommend?
Well, one immediately comes to mind, which is the documentary film A Prayer for Compassion. And the great news is, especially in light of this pandemic, you do not need to go to a movie theater to see it. You can see it on Amazon Prime. The film is called, thank you, A Prayer for Compassion, which is a great documentary by Thomas Wade Jackson, which features something like 50 leaders of religions all over the world, including Judaism, talking about how their religions support compassion for animals. So it's on Amazon Prime. I highly recommend you watch it if you haven't seen it. It's a great resource.
Yeah, it really, really is. Thank you so much, Jeff, for that recommendation. I second that. Go and watch it.
One of the leaders that you'll see in that documentary is none other than Jeffrey Cohen. The making of that documentary, and our voice for the biblical imperative for a plant-based diet can be heard loud and clear in that film. Really a fantastic documentary. We're collaborating with them and getting it out to as many places as we can throughout the United States and the world, and helping others. We've actually heard in some of our events, when they've seen this documentary, people are saying, "Oh, I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to go from vegetarian to vegan, or omnivore to vegetarian." It's really an impactful way, another way to help people connect faith and food together.
Yep, exactly. So I have one last question for you guys, and then we're going to move on. What drives you guys to invest and lead the Jewish plant-based movement, and why is it important for other people to do the same?
Michael.
Well, I think it's, it really starts about who we are. And I think the inspirational thing is, when you really step back and you say, okay, what is this all about, right? Like, we've got the pandemic, and we've got the public health crisis. People are dying of heart attacks and cancer and, obesity, and we've got the climate crisis, and the world is literally on fire. The Amazon is burning because of the 200 million cows that are grazing in the Amazon. All of these things are not separate. They're not, they're not individual little, units. They're all connected and they're all connected to our food. So because we know that our food system, being so vast that it is, feeding close to 8 billion people in the world, is the number one contributor to climate change, is the number one contributor to chronic disease in the world. It's the number one contributor to cruelty and what's happening in the world and global hunger. We have to look at our diet, and we have to make a change, and we have to not just do it for ourselves, but also invest and to advocate and to help other organizations like Jewish Veg that are really leading this charge and spreading this message throughout the nation. And that's why I'm so thrilled and so thankful for all of you guys who are supporting our institution and our community and strengthening our movement. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you again to everybody who've donated so far. It is because of you. It is because of you that we have come so far these 45 years, and it'll be because of you that we'll have another really successful 45 years ahead of us. All right. Thank you both so much. Really appreciate your perspective on everything. And thank you again for helping us lead the Jewish plant-based movement. All righty. So our last group of people are going to be our chapter leaders. So I'm going to bring in Dustin from the New York City chapter. Hello, Dustin. And then Alicia from LA chapter. Hello. And then Sarah, how you doing?
Good.
DC. And then Rafi, part of our Bay Area chapter, which we just started. Hi, guys.
How's it going?
Hello.
Great to be here.
Hello. This is pretty amazing to have you all together at the same time. So I just want to start off actually with a question that we got from Leslie from Algonquin. If you had to choose one most important reason for going vegan, what would it be for you personally? Let's see, Dustin, you go first.
It's an excellent question. Thank you for submitting it. Two reasons I would say is one, obviously, health, not just for your own personal health by going vegan, but also for the health of the world, for the planet, for animals, for the health of everything, but also to live your best values. I would say is another reason. I believe strongly in living by example. So if you're someone that believes in a better world, if you're someone who believes in making things better for not just yourself and your family, but for your community, then by being vegan, you're living true positive values to make things better. So I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think those two are very important reasons. And they reflect my story, which we may or may not get into, but those would be the two I would pick.
Thank you, Dustin. So it's so important. Those two reasons, so important. Alicia, what about you? What do you think for you personally is the most important reason for going vegan?
Since I was a very young child coming from Argentina, honestly, for me has been the welfare of animals. That's what has impacted my life mainly, to continue and have that vision of keep going in a first vegetarian lifestyle for over 30 some years, and the last 6 years as a vegan. What kept me strong was knowing that living cruelty free and with compassion is what aligns with me more than anything. The perfect and fabulous side effects to my decision, and my choice was to have health benefits, added to it. So aligned with my compassion and cruelty-free vision was that I was able to get off being pre-diabetic, more, healthy, cholesterol-wise, health-wise, energy-wise. So animal welfare for me was what kept me going for many decades now.
I totally understand that. I think, I hear my story and yours in that sense. Animals are my friends and I don't eat my friends. It's that simple sometimes. And for me it is. And I think for you too, it sounds like that, why not have more compassion in this world? Just why not? We need it. So, all right. How about, I want to hear, Sarah, what do you think is the most important reason to go vegan for you personally?
Well, I really appreciate everyone's answers, and I agree with everything everyone is saying. For me personally, it's the idea that I can't, I don't want to take another animal's life for my own personal benefit, whether that is wearing the animal in for its skin, or down in a coat, or eating its meat. And there's a book that I read once. It's a very short book. It's easy to read, but it's called "Why Do We Eat Cow?" or "Why Do We Wear Cows, Eat Pigs, but for Jews change it to chickens, and love dogs?" or it's something to that effect. And I think it just really summarizes this societal cognitive dissonance that people experience, in that, someone will have a dog and that dog is like a member of the family, but then they'll wear, cow leather shoes, things like that. And so I really try in my life to not live with that species specific lens, and really see all species as needing to be alive and living their life as in the most natural environment possible.
Yeah. And that book you're talking about is by Dr. Melanie Joy. Incredible book. And one of the things that I love so much about her perspective is the fact that, using animals is just another form of oppression. And in Judaism, those aren't our values. We don't want to oppress anyone or anything. And so that's a really good book. She was actually, Dr. Melanie Joy was a big part of my transition as well to veganism. So thank you so much for that. Rafi, what about you?
Yeah, I'd say my usual answer when people ask me this is kind of a cop-out. It's all of the above. And I think there are a lot of really important reasons to live a vegan lifestyle. Similar to Sarah, though, I think what actually brought me to veganism was environmental concerns. But what has really made me passionate about it for the last 9 years, as I educated myself on more things about veganism, was animal rights, and just that animals have a subjective experience with their own interests, and it's not human-centered. And I just really strongly believe we shouldn't treat other beings as objects.
I totally agree. We all agree here, I'm sure. Dustin, I actually want to quickly go back to you, because you mentioned, you have a bit of a story on how you came to veganism. And like I said in the beginning, it's so important that we can see, not just in our local chapter leaders, but in all of our leadership in the Jewish vegan movement, that we can hear our own stories. So what's yours?
Sure. Well, thank you for asking. So for me, it was actually my daughter. I have a daughter who's about almost 2 years old. And when I first found out that my wife was pregnant, I did a lot of self exploration. I looked at myself, internally, as well as looking at my own health. And at first, I realized that a lot of my family members have like heart conditions and other health concerns. So going pure plant-based was something that I did for health. But then as I started to really think about it, it was something that I wanted to do for positive values. And I watched things like Cowspiracy. I read books like Judaism and Vegetarianism, which you can find at the Jewish Veg shop. And actually, I'm reading this very familiar book right here from one of our speakers a few moments ago. And, you know, all the other things that were said, there you go right there, is, you know, about the animals, the environment, all the other things kind of came into place. And, you know, I think with anyone, I'm one of the newer vegans out of the members that I've met, but there's been nothing but love and support, which has been a wonderful thing. I think there's a great misconception about vegans, you know, having a negative experience with other vegans. And honestly, this group has been nothing but supportive and loving in respect to ideas on recipes and programs and other great things. So it was a journey that started with my health and my own family, but expanded past that to feeling towards animals and the environment and all those other wonderful things that our great other chapter chairs have talked about and our other excellent guests. So that's my journey, and I'm just honored to be here with such an amazing panel of individuals.
Well, we're honored to have you. Thank you so much, Dustin. Okay, so I have one more question for you guys, and then we're going to wrap up. I want to know from you and your own experience being leaders in your own communities, why is it important to mobilize local leaders in the Jewish vegan movement? And what have you seen are positive effects from this type of thing? What about you, Dustin? You want to go first?
I'll try and be quick because I took a lot of time just now. So all I'm going to say is we're very fortunate in New York to have a very vibrant, diverse Jewish communities. And because of that, we've gotten many different types of leaders from different sects of Judaism who have come together in common belief that, you know, eating animals is wrong, having animal products is wrong. Now, whatever their pathway was, it got them there. And because of that, we've seen synagogues that have started to go plant-based. We've seen more people active in their local community, people speaking out about animal abuse when it comes to issues in New York State and New York City. So I would say mobilization has been incredibly important to getting these voices together and actually start moving towards constructive and positive change. So we're very fortunate in New York to have such a wonderful group of people, and all the other chapters I know also have amazing members as well.
That's amazing. Gosh, New York is doing so much. If you are in New York, anyone watching this, you have got to connect with us. Find us on the Facebook group and get on our list so you can stay involved in everything that they're offering. It's pretty amazing. Alicia, what about you? Tell us about the LA chapter. Why is it important for you to be here and for you to be leading this?
I have to thank you. Thanks for having me again, Chantal. Love being part of the Jewish Veg. Our local chapter in Los Angeles, and the members have enjoyed wonderful, fabulous events. Our first Passover vegan dinner, also dairy-free Shavuot, and with cheesecake and ice cream, all vegan. Sukkot on my house. A year ago, potlucks and vegan barbecues. It has been really amazing. I think it's great to have the support of a vegan and Jewish community, to know that we're making a difference in our communities and the world through education, advocacy, support, and encouragement. And, you know, for me, it's a Jewish concept that is so intertwined with veganism, Tzar Balei Chaim, to take care of every living being and the animals and the people who work in this detrimental and very abusive animal agriculture industry. If, you know, a lot of people, when we're having conversation, some people may really don't care about animals, but maybe the way to approach them is, well, do you care about the workers who are providing this, you know, suffering and environmentally horrible industry that we're supporting by buying animal products? And I'm just very grateful myself to be involved with the Jewish Veg LA chapter, especially now. I feel we're in a time that we have a very small window of opportunity to educate people that there are no pandemics when we stay away from the abuse and the use of animals. And nobody can, you know, disagree with that when you're living a compassionate and cruelty-free existence, and we can all strive for that. And just to create a more peaceful and loving world. So please donate and contribute to Jewish Veg and join us to your local Jewish Veg chapter, because now we're all over the place in the US. So thank you for having us. Beautiful event.
Thank you so much, Alicia. For those of you who don't know her yet in LA, you have got to get to know Alicia. Become a part of our LA chapter. It really is such a heartwarming community. All right, so Sarah, what about you? What's it like in DC? Why is it so important there, especially for you to be a part of this movement?
Thanks. Well, here in DC, I feel like we have created this amazing chapter that has brought people together who might otherwise not be involved with a synagogue or other Jewish organizations, and this has become their strong Jewish community connection. So that's been, I think, really important for the chapter in terms of who's been involved. And then also being here in DC, obviously there's lots of policy opportunities, and if we're, post-COVID life, opportunities to be more visible in terms of our policy engagement, things like that. And then as well, I think that there's really just such diverse, interesting programming happening in Jewish religious life here in DC, but the missing element in so many conversations is about animal welfare and veganism. And there's been opportunities already for the Jewish Veg DC chapter to be part of these conversations, whether it's a conversation about climate change or cooking demonstrations, but in all of these broader citywide events for Jewish Veg to have a presence, so that the important part of the conversation, whether it's climate change or anything else, the teachings, Jewish teachings about animal welfare and the connections between the issue and animal welfare is readily available. And I'm sorry, I have to jump off, so I have to say goodbye.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and Rafi, we're down to you. So tell us, you are just starting the Bay Area San Francisco chapter. What is bringing you? Thank you. Pioneering there. Why is this important? Why do we need this there?
Yeah, and I'd really say just thank you to you, Chantal, and also to Michael for helping get this off the ground and really just getting started. But for me, I think it was really important to have a way to connect with Judaism in a way that felt authentic to me personally. And so much of our culture, we gather around food, and I found that could be very alienating. And most people want to be accommodating, if you ask, but that's not the same as having a dedicated space. So what I'm really looking for is a way to break down some of those barriers to being able to both identify as Jewish and to live ethically, according to my own ethical standards. And I don't think that those two things are exclusive. I think that's the whole point of this organization. So really looking to make that dedicated space and be able to build community and do things like, outreach to other Jewish organizations and integrate vegan ethics into Jewish spaces, do education, meet people where they're at to expand veganism for all the benefits that we talked about on the call earlier. To have events just for fun, to develop the community and our capacity to organize. And then like Michael and I think Jonathan touched on earlier, just to be able to do advocacy and hopefully some food security focused volunteering and give back in that spirit of Tikkun Olam.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rafi, for spearheading this. All of you, thank you so much for doing all of the work that you're doing in all of your areas. Again, anyone who really wants to be a part of the solution, get involved in our local chapters, and please donate to our campaign today with our goal of raising $10,000. You are going to be supporting exactly all of the things that everyone just talked about doing. All right, thank you guys. See you later. All right, so that wraps everything up today. Thank you all so much for watching. I just want to remind you all about our campaign. Michael, hello. Thank you so much for participating today.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Chantal, for hosting this. This has been fantastic and an amazing event. A great 45-year anniversary, close to half a century of the Jewish plant-based movement here in the United States and all over the world, leading this charge. I want to thank all of our supporters and all of our sponsors. We just got a new donation actually from Lawrence Siegel. Thank you so much, Lawrence, for your donation. So appreciative and so thankful for your support. If you guys have not yet donated, you can certainly do so to our Given Tuesday campaign at vegangt.org. And if you are if you're watching this as a recording after Giving Tuesday, you can also support Jewish Veg by going to jewishveg.org/anniversary and supporting our community that way. I also want to thank a few of our major sponsors for our pandemic campaign and for all of our work. Veg Fund, thank you so much for everything that you're doing and for supporting Jewish Veg. Well-Fed World, thank you very much for all of your work and all of your amazing support and supporting all the different organizations, just like Veg Fund is doing, all the different vegan organizations throughout the world. Thank you also VDOG. VDOG is an amazing company. They've got this compassionate vegan kibble that is that both dogs and dog owners will love, and it is a way to support the plant-based movement and keep your dog much healthier. And thank you also to the Naleth Foundation for supporting all of our work as well. And of course, thank you to all of our partners for our pandemic campaign.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, everybody, we'll see you in our local chapter meetings in our next event. Again, thank you for celebrating our 45th anniversary. It is incredible how far we've come, and you are going to make us go even farther. So thank you again. All right, have a great rest of your day. Happy Giving Tuesday.